welcome to Saving People Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where the 2010 is all too apparent in the celebrity casting choices. Today, we are pulling up to Season 5, Episode 5, Fallen Idols. I'm your host, August. My pronouns are they, them, and joining me today for a duo episode, the first in a while, is my co-host, Noah.
Duo, what's up? It's me, Noah. How are y'all doing? Hey.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about this episode. It's a weird one.
It was so weird and so funny. And the 2010 really.
It's so 2010. This episode is like, this episode dates itself like every scene.
I love it, but I am ashamed of it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think that's the correct response, which we will get into. But now that we've been introduced, it's time to catch you all up. If you haven't watched Supernatural or this episode recently, like I hadn't, here's what you missed on the road so far. So I'm going to start out by recapping the show so far.
Ooh, no big deal. Season 5, Episode 5. Don't even worry about it.
Okay, we're just going to go for it.
I'll give you a little countdown.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, there's these two brothers and they're on the hunt for monsters because their mom was killed by a demon. They eventually kill that demon, but in the process they lose their dad. Then someone kills Sam. Sam is supposed to be Boy King, leader of Demon Army. He gets killed. Dean sells his soul to save him from hell. Dean goes to hell. Dean is raised from hell by angels. One angel, particularly Castiel, angel of the Lord. And there's an apocalypse and Sam raises Lucifer and it's big and bad.
You nailed it. You got there in the end. You were rushing through it. You hit season 4 and then you had 6 seconds left maybe, but
I spent too much time on season 2. I've learned this. It's hard to sum up season 2.
It's a good season
without getting into it.
But it's a very complicated season.
It is. It sets up a lot of things. It's hard to sum up in less than 15 seconds. And at this point, 30 seconds for 4 seasons. We're like sitting at like 7-8 seconds per season. It's starting to get challenging.
Yeah, just a little bit. But hey, that's part of the fun is they're just going to get worse and worse. And it's going to be more apparent what's important to people as we go on.
Yeah, I think that's true. Speaking of what's important in this episode, Noah, are you ready to recap Fallen Idols?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Give me a little countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Sam and Dean are going on a little hunt to avoid having to talk about everything. But instead of that working, they end up actually talking through their problems while following a wild ghost story about Abe Lincoln, and Gandhi shows up. It's wild. They deal with these ghosts who are appearing because of a wax museum's artifacts, and then they have to fight Paris Hilton to the death because she's an immortal queen. And then Dean apologizes.
Nice. That makes this episode sound exactly as weird as it is.
It's.
But you also got at the theme of, the like 2 conversations in this episode that are actually like important to the overarching plot.
Them having a real honest conversation and Dean apologizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Two big moments.
You could take everything else out of this episode and would not lose anything in terms of this season.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you could say that about pretty much anything else in season 5. It'll be interesting. I don't think there's any other episode in season 5 you can say that about. It's an interesting one-off.
Damn. Okay.
Anyway.
I'm so excited.
We'll get there. But first, we got to pick some music to accompany us on our journey. Noah, what's your mixtape selection this week?
This week, I had to pick my boy John Bellion and his song, The Internet, because it's all about how life became dangerous the day we all became famous. And it's all about no one cares if you really have it, whatever, the magical it is, just as long as they think you have it. They don't care if you actually do. They just need to think you do. So if they think you're famous, then you're powerful. And it kind of goes along with that. So it was kind of from the monster's perspective. Paris Hilton's perspective.
I like that. It's like very, it's a very meta sort of like selection.
Yeah.
Fits really well with where Leshy, the god kind of goes.
Yeah.
Nice. Like it. My pick today is on the Sam end. And it's Who I Am Hates Who I've Been by Reliant K. Which, like, I mean, this is maybe a very niche, like, grew up in evangelical Christian music and Christian adjacent music, kind of.
Well, Reliant K is huge in the emo scene.
That's also true.
Outside of Christian music, it's
That's
both.
true. they like kind of like walked that line between,
Yeah.
but it was also like one of those bands that if you're like a 90s kid, you maybe grew
Yeah.
up on. If you were in either that scene or the Christian scene, you maybe were allowed to listen to them.
There's not a lot of overlap between those two genres,
That's
but
not a-
Reliant K knocks it out of the park, man.
Yeah, that's a very specific Venn diagram.
NF
So if
is
you fit in that
probably the
diagram. Anyway, I grew up on them. I like listened to them a lot in my teens and really loved them. And this song, I mean, the title kind of says it all. Who I am hates who I've been. I think that's really where Sam is. There's a line that goes, see that line while I never should have crossed it. Stop right there. That's exactly where I lost it. It's like, I mean, that's how Sam's whole thing in this episode is. He's like, I get it. I like screwed up and like I can't go back, but I am trying to, like, who I am now can look back on what I've done and be like, those were some bad calls. We're trying to do better. It's also just a bop. Like, it's a bop song.
It's such a good song.
It's such a good song. I'm probably going to end up on a Ryan K kick after we record this based on pulling this song up because
the algorithm
I debated several of their songs today for this pick. So
good. Fantastic.
Now that we've got the mixtape, small one today, it's time for this week's hunt. And today we are exploring Fallen Idols, which is the 5th episode of season 5.
Oof.
And yeah,
we're getting right into it.
It's a quarter of the way in.
That's a little too much.
Yeah.
We're going too fast now.
Going too fast. Speeding too fast towards this apocalypse.
But I'm okay with it because the brothers they're good. They're good. They're bonding. I'm excited. So I'm cool if we chill a little bit in this mellow, nice area before things get bad again. Because
let me look. You got yeah. I'm not gonna make any comments about how long you've got before
I've probably got
again.
until this mid-season finale, if I'm hoping.
Yeah, let's be generous. Say everything's gonna be great till then.
We'll see.
This week our tarot card is the 6 of Blades. In the Supernatural deck, it's a really cool looking card with a whole bunch of different specific blades that have significance throughout Supernatural storyline. And I'm going to read the card because I think it actually kind of fits.
Heck yeah.
Quite well. The 6 of Blades represents the period of rest that follows a struggle. It's a reprieve, a sigh, a laying down of swords. This tarot card marks a transition from a chaotic phase into a calmer one. Sometimes this card indicates actual travel. I think it's interesting. I don't think we're transitioning into a period of calm in the season, but maybe we are. Maybe we're transitioning into a period of some calm before things kick up again. It is kind of coming from like the big conflict of the beginning of the season to
they've resolved their conflict with each other, so they're a little bit calmer.
Yeah.
Everything's still going to shit though.
Well, yeah. They get this little reprieve in the form of, but like for the Winchesters, reprieve is like a hunt for a god as opposed to like fighting the devil.
Yeah.
It's reprieve, but like in context. It's not super relaxed.
Yeah. It's a vacation for them, but I mean, Dean took a little summer vacation to kill a werewolf one time, right? Like that's a whole.
Yeah, the Winchesters don't know how to take actual vacations.
So
you know.
That's fine. We love them for that.
Yeah, I mean the world's they save the world because of it, so
yeah,
I guess that's something.
It's the reason we're still here.
That's gonna bring us to talking about this episode. Noah, what did you think?
I really liked this episode. At the start, I was really scared somebody had stolen Baby because they were like talking about a car, and I was like, "Oh my god, no, please,
not again, not another Bella situation."
Though
that was actually also really fun.
So yeah, I don't regret that one either. It's very interesting them, taking on any hunt in order to avoid having to talk about their feelings, because they're not brothers that talk about feelings, and that's okay. But sometimes you have to.
It's also the root of many of their interpersonal conflicts.
Yeah, you have to talk through some things when things are this complicated, okay?
Yeah, which they are.
Gone to hell for each other and started the apocalypse in opposition to the other one, then you've got to talk about it.
Yep. And it's for all that, like, Sam came back to Dean and was like, I want back in. And they had a little bit of a talk about it. They mostly were just like, we will continue to fight together,
Yeah,
to try and stop the apocalypse. But there wasn't a whole lot of like, okay, we like had this massive blowout and this massive like separation, and now we're coming back together and we're just gonna like act like before.
Which is sibling energy. I get that. But there's a limit to what they can accomplish with sibling energy. Okay.
Yeah. And the limit is the apocalypse.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to effectively fight the apocalypse if you can't communicate about the fact that you don't trust each other anymore.
And figure out how to work as a team regardless of that.
Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting episode because they're like on the same side now again. Like they're really solidified that they're working towards the same thing, but yet we're seeing kind of the repercussions of the end of season 4 and this like broken trust, where as much as Dean is glad to have Sam back in the game, as much as I think he is glad, but we also saw like only 2 episodes ago him, you know, doing stuff with Cass and being like, this is the most relaxed and most fun I've had in years. So like there's also a bit of like Sam's back, but then also all of the like things that come along with having his brother back are back, and Dean hasn't figured out how to like trust him again after everything with Ruby. Yeah,
when there's only one way to really learn that, which is through the process of trusting him again, like slowly but surely. Like you have to build that back up. So
yeah, it's gonna be risky.
It's gonna be risky, but you also have to talk about it. That's the only way to get through that. And I'm so glad they do get to a point where they get there. And I'm proud of them.
Yeah. Dean uses the phrase, we need training wheels, which I think is a great metaphor for this. Like, yeah, there's going to be some risk. You can still like have a massive crash on your training wheels. Like it's still possible, but you got some protections in mind. You know, they're doing a hunt that like is high stakes, kind of like, yes, there are people that are in danger. So it is high stakes, but it's not like end of the world high stakes.
It's not the highest stakes they fought.
Yeah. A little bit of practice before they go back to looking for Lucifer or whatever they're going to do about the apocalypse.
Yeah. I really liked his use of that metaphor, but specifically how he stressed that we needed it, not you.
Yeah.
Like not one of us, but we together. It was good.
Maturity there.
Yeah.
Like to be like, hey, trust has been broken, but also this isn't just about like you've done a bad thing and you have to earn back my trust. This is like we both need this to be a fresh start.
Yeah.
It's kind.
Yeah, it really is. Alongside him reaffirming that, hey, I broke the first seal. You did the big thing, but I broke the first thing that started it. So it's okay. Like we both shared responsibility in that. And Sam being like, well, you didn't know. And Dean being like, well, you didn't either. Like, motherfucker, we're the same.
Dean being like, you know what? We also made choices. I made choices. Like Dean sold a soul and went to hell. Like again, good intentions, bad consequences. Sam trusts Ruby because he thinks Ruby can help him kill Lilith. Good intentions, like bad consequences. Like demon blood, not the way to go. Probably could have avoided that one, but
easily, but whatever. It's okay. We're moving on. You made bad choices. We're moving on. I loved it. It was a great way to do it.
Yeah. And Dean says, you know, neither of us saw it coming.
Yeah.
Even things like killing Lilith, and which was the final seal. Who would have thought that would have been a bad thing?
Who would have thought? Not me.
Going back to maybe like switching gears a little to like, I want to talk about the final conversation they have more, but I want to talk about like the kind of like one-off hunt that this episode is, because it's
so weird. Interesting. So weird. The first kill is the Abe Lincoln, right? Shows up out of nowhere.
The car. The first kill is the car.
So the second kill with Abe Lincoln showing up just out of nowhere, and it's okay. That's that guy. He's just chilling, and they don't believe the poor. What was?
I think she's the housekeeper. I think she's the housekeeper.
Yeah, they don't trust the housekeeper when she says, "Oh yeah, it's Abe Lincoln. That's who killed him." But I did like the touch of Sam being able to speak a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. KJ on Supernatural Opinions, it's like her opinion that Sam and Dean really should have known, like really should both know Spanish,
honestly,
given their job and the fact that they move around.
They travel America, which there's a predominant number of people that speak Spanish. You should learn Spanish if you're traveling the country constantly.
And it shows up in Supernatural like not enough for how much it's spoken, which is interesting. I did like that we actually got to see Sam's Spanish, and that he, says it's because of a like intro to Spanish class.
Freshman Spanish, yeah.
Which
Spamford.
Spamford.
No, it was great. I like that touch.
Though it's a little, I will say, I wanted to compare it to, like, I know you haven't seen Winchesters, Noah, but there's a scene in Winchesters, a couple of scenes actually, where one of the main characters, who is Spanish speaking, speaks to, like, similarly a victim of an attack in Spanish, and they actually do the whole conversation in Spanish, in like proper Spanish.
Hell yeah.
Not this, and it was really, I think it's like a nice evolution of like
a sign of growth.
This 2010 is still a little cringy the way they handle the Spanish, so quite cringy.
Yeah.
It's not super respectful. It's not super great. It's kind of played for laughs, and that in Winchesters is much better,
stronger, and a better representation.
Yeah,
I love
really
that.
honoring of the language instead of treating it as like a barrier to communication, which they kind of do here.
Yeah, frustrating.
Okay. So the way Dean reacts about James Dean's car, and the way we
so invested and so interested and so scared all at the same time.
And I mean, you look at pictures of James Dean and like tell me that Dean wouldn't have had a little bit of a crush. We know Dean had celebrity crush.
Yeah, he was everybody's celebrity crush of a certain time period, and Dean definitely falls within that.
Yeah, and he's before Dean's time, but like we know Dean likes old movies and like he likes things that
the classics.
That's
yeah.
So his like fanboy over the car is like, it's very cute.
It's a very Dean move, and it's wholesome.
Yeah.
Endearing, and definitely goes in the queer pile.
This feels like, I was watching this and I was like, this feels like a season 1 or season 3 episode specifically, like the very one-off nature of the hunt, the kind of like weird supernatural being that we're never going to meet again.
Nope.
It's odd fitting it here in this season.
So it becomes an embodiment of the thing, right? So it can turn into a car. It's a monster that can.
I think so. I think it's like, it can impersonate. Yeah, the car is the interesting one because like the god embodies, like takes the form of Lincoln, takes the form of Paris Hilton, takes the form of Gandhi. But the car is the kind of odd one.
It's like, okay.
Does it take the form, like does it take the form of James
Dean and then showing up and killing them on the car? That's like, okay.
I feel
like they could have flexed that if they had a person that looked enough like James Dean. They could have done that.
It would have been fun.
Would have been more fun.
I would have preferred for us to spend more time on that than the Gandhi choice, because I think that's like just a bit like handled very poorly.
Handled super poorly, with the slight exception that the fact that he exists in the story is because Sam is a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Like, that is a good note. The rest of it is all played for jokes and laughs, and it's not helpful.
Pretty disrespectful.
Super disrespectful. Like,
just culturally disrespectful. I think that, like, I mean, Gandhi's got a super mixed sort of legacy.
Yeah.
So that's setting that aside. Some of the comments that are made are just not great. I do also really appreciate that it makes a lot of sense for Sam. What we know of, like, especially younger Sam's kind of like wanting to get out of hunting, wanting to like solve problems peacefully. You can see like a young Sam being really interested in a figure like Gandhi.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. All he sees and all he knows is conflict, and so he's going to look to somebody who is big on resolving and avoiding conflict.
Yeah.
No, that was wholesome in that one little way. And then harmful the whole rest of it. But
the whole rest of it. Okay, have you ever been to a wax museum, Noah?
I honestly have not. I've seen a few wax figures in the wild, but I've not been to the museum. They're
weird. There used to be one in a town that I lived in, and it's weird. It's a weird kind of thing to wander around because I mean, I feel like in movies they end up looking a little more lifelike than they usually do in an actual wax museum, but they're still a little eerie.
Yeah. I like seeing the pictures of the really bad ones. The ones that are not who they should be. They're really messed up.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you've ever seen a terrible one, or a picture of a terrible one, tweet us.
Please.
at
Oh
queering
God,
underscore
yes.
saying, send us the worst wax museum fails that you can find. We think that'd be very funny.
It would be so good. That would blow up we'll retweet them all.
Yeah. I laughed so hard at the part where the museum curator is talking about like using wax museums to bring in the kids.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
He calls the kids Gen Y, which
If the
I guess.
kids are Gen Y. Okay, no.
Do you
Kids
mean
in
millennials?
2010 would have been. He's saying kids, and he's talking about 25, 30,
Yeah.
40
He's talking about
year-olds.
millennials.
Yeah, he's not talking the kids.
Texting the internet.
He was
Such a 2010
character.
episode.
Oh my God.
Such
yeah.
a dated episode.
So dated. Mostly by their choice of final embodiment of the monster or the god. Paris Hilton. I saw right at the start, special guest star Paris Hilton. I was like, what the fuck? Really?
I was very excited to hear what you thought about this, because if you pitch this episode, you just say special appearance by Paris Hilton and in a supernatural episode, and it's gotta be funny.
It's
gotta be funny. And it's so funny.
It really is. I was thrown off at first. But hey, it's not what I expected, but it worked and it was so funny and she killed it. And she was taking all these hits on the brothers, and the way they cut it, the way they did the effects made it look really good. It was fantastic. I was all there for it.
I know. It's such a funny, like 2010s choice to be like, let's pick someone who is famous for being famous, pretty much. Like someone who kind of just embodies like being famous. And like recognize and like name recognition.
Yeah.
And then let's make them like basically a like murderous god. Like, who pitched this to Paris? I want to know who pitched this to Paris Hilton.
If I could be a fly on the wall for that conversation, ooh, it would have been so funny.
Oh, that's why.
Oh, because they were okay.
Until this very moment.
That makes a lot of sense. Paris Hilton played a supporting role in the horror film House of Wax alongside Jared Padalecki. And so then a couple of years later, he said, hey, we've got this episode about wax and a monster. Do you want to come on? That's so fantastic.
Do you want to come on, like, give us a good fight and then get brutally murdered? Like, brutally killed?
Brutal. Decapitated.
You want to be decapitated on our low budget CW show?
I want to hope that she was all in and was, fuck yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. And they're like, no, it's actually 8 months away. We're not filming yet. I'm sorry.
She doesn't seem like she's phoning this performance in.
No.
Like she seems like she's committing. It's an insane, ridiculous performance, but she does seem like she commits to it.
It's so great. I love it.
Which is also really funny that then the line from Dean saying, I'm not a Paris Hilton BFF, I've never even seen House of Wax, is a direct dig at Jared.
Okay.
Very funny.
That makes a lot more sense now.
Oh.
If he had, I wonder how he would have felt. What would he have seen?
I've never seen House of Wax, so I cannot speak to this at all.
No idea, but Jared Padalecki is. So would he have been like, hey, Sam, did you do something in college? It's
like in Hollywood Babylon, where they drive past the set of Gilmore Girls and make a lot of jokes, and it's very funny.
Ugh, I love that.
There will be a moment in a future episode where they will also do that with one of Jensen's old performances, and it's a very good, very funny moment that we will not need to point out when we get there. If you've watched a couple seasons from now, you will know which point I'm talking about, but it's very funny. I was so disappointed when Paris decided to say that John was their hero, was Dean's hero. Dean's specifically. Nah, Bobby is his hero. There's no way. I think the thing is, I don't even think she's like necessarily wrong. I think what's interesting is she says like, she talks about it as him as like an idol. Like she says, all you ever want, like poor little Dean, all you ever wanted was to be loved by your idol. Like, which implies pretty strongly that like there was something about John's love that was conditional. and distant, and that Dean just wanted his father to like care about him.
Genuinely.
I think like Bobby's his actual dad. Bobby's his actual hero.
Yeah.
Bobby's who he actually wants to be like. But John, he wanted John to love him.
Damn. Yeah.
Ugh, it's
that hurts.
Paris Hilton delivering like character analysis.
Huge character analysis. That's great.
Terrible.
Oh my god. That's great though. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't escape fucking John Winchester.
No, I really thought she was about to morph into
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. How did I just forget? Okay.
How'd you? Wow.
How did I do that? What the
I know.
fuck?
I'm like,
it's because he's got 3 names. That's why.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry.
I mean, if they've been able to get Jeffrey Dean Morgan to come in for an episode with Paris Hilton, more from Paris Hilton into Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh my god, that would have been such a great CGI shot of 2000.
Also, man, we could have gotten them having to like brutally decapitate John. Could have been a real cathartic moment for us.
That would have been even
the anti-John Winchester Club.
Oh yeah. Nothing against Jeffrey Dean Morgan, sorry, buddy.
No, we love Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
We do want to decapitate your character. Sorry.
I'm glad to see that my anti-John slander is going strong, even post season 1 of the Winchesters. I'm glad that I can still maintain that.
Good. I've seen enough on Twitter that he's still showing some John. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's a different show.
Different show.
Sam not being able to resist. Bro, you just got wailed on by Paris Hilton. Like that's I mean, they just it's so ridiculous. They gotta laugh at it.
They gotta be, and honestly, it's so goofy. It's so goofy. Like the outfit that she's in, which is also just so 2010s. Like I remember like the 2010s, that's when I graduated high school. So I remember like the prom dresses and like the grad dresses around the time that I graduated, which was a couple years after this, like 2013. And yeah, they were like this. They were like that. They were kind of terrible. Like that was terrible. These are terrible. Like the fashion of the 2010s is awful. It's
not
so bad.
Great. No.
And it's on full display here.
Yeah. T-shirts and shorts is all I did. It was bad.
Yeah. And really poofy, kind of weirdly asymmetrical dresses.
No pockets.
No.
Don't
never.
even think about a pocket in a dress.
No. Or straps. Like there's no straps either, so you're not comfortable.
No. I'm glad things have slightly improved. Got pockets. I'm so glad Paris Hilton did this, honestly. It's such a queen moment of her, and she did great. And sending her off in such a violent way was a little extra, but they did it, and she was there for it, I guess.
I also think it's very funny that they say the sheriff has like put an APB on Paris Hilton. Yeah. I'm like, there's like maybe potentially real life repercussions for this. Like, what's the real Paris Hilton's gonna get arrested?
She's about to get busted.
She's gonna have to provide an alibi for like, where were you when
on
you
the
were
other side of the
people?
Country? What are you talking about? I was literally at a movie premiere. What?
That sheriff is going to be gaslighting himself about Paris Hilton for the rest of his career.
Yes.
He's going to be like, I swore it was Paris Hilton.
Honestly, I think that cop's about to forget it the next week because he was so ready to just believe whatever he needed to believe and move on. It was a little
might be true.
Rough.
Yeah, it's a point for the Supernatural having law enforcement that are bad at their jobs. Like
terrible. Henriksen was like great, better at his job than most of them. This guy's so far the opposite. Oh my god, it was so
Okay, but speaking of being bad at your job, like I'm never gonna get over the Winchesters doing amateur surgery with like clearly no skill or idea of what they're looking for,
and it works.
And it works.
Plot armor.
Yeah. I'm
it's
like
great.
Sam just cuts open this body and just kind of like digs around. Like I'm gonna guess Sam has maybe like 1 or 2 like freshman biology classes from college, but that's like the extent of his medical knowledge.
Max.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's and then he comes out all fine. I'm like,
yeah. Okay. How many times did you have to like throw up a little bit before you came back out? And you good?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess he really does that all the time. It's fine. He deals with dead bodies. It's no biggie. Dean apologizing though.
Okay, yeah, let's get into it.
So good. He really lays it all on the line. He says, "I'm sorry." Like that's such character growth from season 1 Dean. to now.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
And it's also like this acknowledgement of like his parentification, because he specifically, before he says I'm sorry, he says, I was so worried about watching your every move that I didn't see what it was actually doing to you. Which, like, we talked a whole bunch about the addiction plot line with Sam, the demon blood, and like Dean trying his best but quite mishandling a lot of that, like not really knowing how to actually get through to Sam. And I think Dean being able to like acknowledge that I was like eagle-eyed watching you, but I didn't see how it was actually impacting you. Like, it's a big apology.
Big mature apology. I'm so proud.
Yeah, it's rare.
Accepting each other fully for their mistakes and for their positive side, their qualities, their survivor capabilities.
Yeah.
Because they both broke seals, but they both broke them doing big important stuff. So it's not like they're weak. I don't know.
No.
They really do accept each other in this conversation. They don't fully trust each other, but they accept.
No. There's this like, this is the place we're at, and it might take us some time to like get back to, or get to some new place. Like, the relationship is not going to be like it was way back when, but also like their relationship was never like easy or simple. Like,
it was always fractured.
Yeah, like, you know, the time, like when Dean went and got Sam at Stanford, they had already had this fracture of when Sam left and everything with John. They had this fractured childhood all through season 1 and season 2 and season 3. Like, there's constant this struggle between like both of their needs and the hunt and the different priorities, and like that's their relationship. Like, this is maybe a bigger fracture because it's like the literal apocalypse, but it's not. They've always been complicated, their relationship, their sibling relationship.
And if they are really getting into semantics, Dean broke the first seal, so he did it first before Sam did his worse thing, you know? So it's like, it's whatever. It's semantics, but they both grow through it. And it's...
Yeah, I think it's a good moment of them coming together going like, look, let's put it all on the table. We know what we've done. We know where we've screwed up, but we got one shot at surviving this. And then there's this like great free will speech. There's this like Sam being like, you know, maybe I'm on deck for Lucifer. Maybe you're on deck for Michael. Maybe we just keep like fighting.
Grab whatever's in front of us and kick its ass. It's such a good line. We have to do it on the same level.
Yeah. Again, they're acknowledging like we can't have this weird hierarchy. We can't have this weird like moral superiority of like, you've done this with demons, like you've gone off with Ruby, you've broken the seal in hell, like you've tortured people. Like, we can't be like comparing these things. We gotta like just go forward. Yeah,
I love it. And the biggest step that Dean could take in order to show that to Sam is to let him drive his baby.
Yeah. Sam hasn't, I'm not trying to think of when the last time Sam drove baby was. It's
when
been
Dean
a while.
was dead.
Yeah. I don't know if Sam has really driven all through season 4, because Sam did a lot of sneaking off in season 4. I think that you might be right. Well, and we've talked before about how like Sam, whenever Sam drives, I think this originally came from KJ's analysis, but like whenever Sam drives, it's because his agency in the story, Sam's like taking control of the narrative whenever he drives. But I think it's cool in this moment because it's not like Sam being like, I want to drive. It's Dean being like, I think you should drive.
Yep.
And
hey, I trust you in this little way, at least, you know?
So much so that Dean's literally going to go to sleep. He's like, I'm going to
take a nap.
Like, the symbolism of like, I can actually like stop watching your every move for a minute. I can just like pass out in the passenger seat and let you drive the story a little bit.
I used to be super bad about not wanting anybody to drive my cars, or like it's you know, it's no biggie. It's I always prefer to drive because
I'm
like,
the same way.
But in the more recent years, I've gotten a lot more relaxed on that, and I've been like, you know what? It's actually pretty chill to sit in the passenger seat and just ride, and it's like,
just vibe.
I see a lot more of the surroundings whenever I'm not focused on the road. But I could not go to sleep for a long time in a car. Dean, I'm so proud of him for taking that step. He did so well.
He does like some big growing in this episode, I think, honestly.
Growing.
Like, whole process of like, you know, Sam came back at the end of the last episode, and this is when Dean gets with it. Yeah, so he processes it like on this weird wax museum Paris Hilton, you know, Slavic god case.
Yeah.
Forest god case. Like,
super interesting. It's such an odd one for him to, you know, grow that much on, but it's great. It's great.
Hopefully that's something that like Sam says some really interesting things in this episode in one of their fights in the middle of the episode where I mean he says like how long am I going to be on double secret probation, which is kind of a funny line.
Was pretty good.
But he also talks about, you can think whatever you want, like I deserve it and worse. You'll never punish me as much as I punish myself. Like we know Sam's self-worth is like
plummeting
real bad. But he also gets to be honest with Dean. He gets to say like one of the reasons I went off with Ruby was to get away so that I could feel strong. Like I could get away from you. I could feel like I wasn't your kid brother. Like they acknowledge some of the parentification here. Like and Dean also goes like, okay, Sam made his own choices, but I also made choices that impacted those choices. And we got to do a different, you're going to have to let me grow up for starters.
Oof. He says some good stuff to provoke this growth. And then he accepts it perfectly and humbly says thanks. And where do we go from here? Like, okay, like that feels great. Now what's next? I'm so excited and nervous to see where they go from here.
Right, now that they're actually on the same page.
Yep. How long is that going to last?
Now we got an apocalypse. We got two archangels raring to take the wheel.
On both of them.
And then fight each other in a death match. So that's coming up.
No big deal.
But hey, they're not actively fighting anymore, so.
It's the little victories.
We're going to move into our going meta section. This is where we're tracking lore, representation, any behind the scenes fun facts, and anything else that we haven't already talked about. First up, we have our representation check.
Rep check.
We talked about the Gandhi stuff a little bit. There's some, run-of-the-mill, but no less annoying sexism.
In the bar and with Paris. It's a whole thing. It's not fun to watch, ever.
No, it's just so uninteresting.
Yeah, and unappealing.
Yeah.
It's bad representation for women, against women. It's just bad.
Yeah. Obviously, their handling of Spanish could be better.
Significantly.
The choice of who they have, like the fact that they do James Dean, Lincoln, and Gandhi, it's just a weird collection. It's not really a representation note. It's just like a weird collection of...
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the writing of this episode. I'm actually going to look up who wrote this episode. And by Julie Siege. I'm going to see who else, if she has written any other episodes. Okay, so, wow. So Julie Siege, who wrote this episode, also wrote It's the Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester, Chris Angel's The Douchebag, and Monster at the End of This Book from season 4, which Monster at the End of This Book is one of my all-time favorites. So it's interesting because I think that episode is like one of the best ever, and this one I think is just okay. But she co-wrote a couple of those ones, so interesting. So interesting collection of episodes.
Okay. Huh.
Also a co-producer on the show during this last season and this season. So
Queen.
Yeah.
Besides that, there was
I was just looking at some of the like pop culture stuff in this episode. The double secret probation is actually a reference to Animal House, which I didn't actually realize until I looked it up. They pose as agents Bonham and Copeland in this episode, which is referring to rock drummers, obviously John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, Stuart Copeland of the Police. Again, always fun when we get some new rock aliases. And, it's like Led Zeppelin alias, which is, Dean's favorite.
Yeah, it's respect to the drummers, too. They're not picking the lead man, they're picking the drummers.
Yeah.
Proud of them.
Yeah. This episode does not pass the Bechdel test.
God, no.
Not even close. This episode just
sucks.
Doesn't pass.
Yeah.
Moving into our lore check or lost cannon jar.
This god goes right in the jar.
Yeah, this god will not reappear. Like a lot of one-off monsters, it's a Slavic pagan forest deity, and it's dead. So,
it's gone. It's
really the only lore we get.
Yeah.
Outside of, like, Winchester family lore, which...
Yeah, Sam being a fan of Gandhi, and we talked on that some. Oops.
No world lore.
Well, let's come back.
What did you notice?
Let's come back to the monster turning into a car. That's
okay. Yes, that's fair. That's
something
fair.
We should be able to mention in lore, and because I think keeping track of what they establish monsters and creatures, quote unquote gods, can do.
Yep.
Be a car.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You could take you can take the form of dead humans and also
long dead humans and current humans who are like
still
right
alive.
here right now, and a car. It's all of those.
Actually, yeah, this god's very versatile.
So versatile. What a queen. I will be paying attention to which monsters and or gods and or angels and or demons turn into vehicles or stationary objects, inanimate objects at any point.
Oh, we'll have some fun. We will have some fun.
Okay, good.
Let's move right along. It is now time for our last and generally our favorite part of the episode, which is our character blessing. Noah, who do you want to bless this week?
I'm going to bless the person who I feel like was most affected by the events of this episode. And that is the real Paris Hilton. And I just want to wish her all the blessings for the shitstorm of everything that's about to break on her, apparently. The brothers did all this, and it wasn't their fault, but they saved her. Eventually, she would have had to confront this imposter and would have had to deal with something along these lines. So,
and I'm taking pagan god Paris Hilton over real Paris Hilton in that fight, to be clear.
Paris, I know you're listening. I would pick you.
I'm just that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
He's a big fan of the show.
Well, I mean, clearly she was on the show.
Yeah. Yep. What about you, August?
I'm gonna bless Dean this episode.
Of course.
For the maturity it takes to self-reflect. It's not an easy thing to be able to be like, put all your own feelings aside or like, look at your own behavior and, extend that hand, extend that apology. And it's not a thing we've seen from Dean Winchester very often.
No.
But, it's nice to see, especially after the end of season 4, Sam, we know never heard, Sam heard only the tampered with voicemail.
Why?
Which, not to bring that up again.
Yeah.
But I just made a connection. At least Sam gets this moment. At least Sam gets this moment of Dean being like, I didn't get what this was, what was happening to you, and I screwed up, and I'm sorry. It doesn't. It's not going to fix that wound for Sam, but it's
a step in the direction.
It's a step in the direction, and it's bless Dean, and anyone listening who's ever had to kind of do that self-reflection and come back to someone with some honesty about a situation, come with apology, to repair a relationship. That's something that takes a lot of courage, and I want to bless Dean for that.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Damn, blessings is always so nice and wholesome.
That's such a nice way to end off.
Nice and wholesome episodes. Is a perfect way to end the episode. That brings us to the end. Thank you, August, for having a great time. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Duo episodes are so much fun.
They are so much fun. We don't do them all that often anymore. And it's really fun.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Just sit down, talk about the episode. I love hearing your thoughts as a new person on an episode like this. I feel like I appreciate this episode more than I did going into it. I was kind of not looking forward to watching this episode, honestly. All I can remember was that I was like, this is a very 2010s episode. Derogatory. and I still kind of think that, but I also really enjoyed this conversation.
Hell yeah, me too. Yeah. It was great. It's a fun little episode.
Yeah. A little break from our normal really heavy fare the last few episodes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm proud. I'm glad.
Well, thank you to everyone who is listening. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you, Paris.
Thank you, Paris. And to Paris and anyone else listening, you can subscribe to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you like our show, we'd love if you share it with your friends. Either introduce them to Supernatural or to your friends who already love Supernatural.
Hell yeah. You can find links to all of our social media and join our Discord through our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
And if you are all caught up on Supernatural and want to go back to before the beginning, we have just wrapped up first season of The Winchesters over on Wayward Parents, where myself, as well as my co-host Elena and my co-hosts Beth and KJ have explored every single episode, so you can listen to the entire first season. Their updates are at Wayward Parents on Twitter or on Tumblr at Wayward Parents Podcast.
Be sure to ride along with us next week as we explore Season 5, Episode 6. I believe the children are our future.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.